Hello, my name is Byron Velasquez, and I'm going to be doing an analysis on Gary Snyder's three short stories or poems. A little bit about Gary Snyder. He was born in San Francisco in May 8th, 1930. His family shortly moved to Washington afterwards, after he was born. So that means he grew around a lot in the mountains, around nature. Um, as he grew up, he studied different cultures such as the Indian culture and religions such as Buddhism, which talks about a lot about enlightenment. And so we're going to start in the first poem, which is called Burning Island. It's I'm going to read it real quick. It says, "O wave god who broke through me today, sea bream massive pink and silver, cool, swimming down with me, watching, staying away from the spear, volcano, belly keeper who lifted this island for our own bedded bodies, adornment and sprinkles us all with his laugh, ash in the eve, Mr. Smoke on the bare high limits, underwater lava flows easing to coral, holes filled with striped feeding swimmers, oh sky gods cartwheeling out of Pacific, turning rain squeals over like lids on us. The shine on our Soden scanned out a rainbow today at the cow, drinking true, slushing off lakhs of crystal Buddha fields, right on the hair of the arm, who wavers right now in the bamboo, a half-gone, waning moon, drank down a blowful of shoku in praise of Antars, gazing far up the lanes of Sagittarius, richest stream of our sky, a cup to the center of the galaxy, and let the eye stray, right angling the pitch of the Milky Way, horse heads, rings clouds, too distant to be slide free on the crest of the wave. Each night, O Earth Mother, I have wrapped my hand over the jute of your cobra hood, sleeping, left my ear all night long by your mouth. O all, God's tides, capes, currents, flows and spirals of pull and powers, as we hoe the field, let sweet potato grow, and as it sit us all down when we may, to consider the Dharma, bring with a flower and a glimmer, let us sleep in peace together, bless Masa and me as we marry at new moon on the crater this summer." I believe in this, so basically the Burning Island is talking about two gods, a wave god and the volcano belly keeper. The wave god appears to be a god about comforting, a god of comforting, as it describes in the first stanza, cool swimming down with me, watching, staying away from the spear. So there's a spear, maybe could mean signify the public, and the wave god is comforting the person going through these in the water, making them feel cool, comfortable, safe. Now, the volcano belly keeper appears to be about peace, as it says, and sprinkles us with laugh, ash in the eve. Underwater lava flows, easing to coral, holes filled with striped feeding swimmers. It talks about the underwater lava easing to coral, holes filled with striped feeding swimmers. It also continues to the very end. The whole stanza at the very end talks about praising the gods, asking what seems to be peace and tranquility. What for specifically? In the end, it kind of reveals it with the very last stanza revealing, saying, "Bless Masa and me as we marry at new moon on the crater this summer." This obviously shows marriage or some type of relationship. So this whole poem is kind of talking about a relationship being comforting and peaceful, with no violence, no fear, no anything like that, no disturbance. And I feel like that's pretty much what this first poem talks about. In the second poem, Axe Handles, it's a little summary of it. It's a poem that talks about a father and his son Kai that are throwing axes. Actually, in the second poem, Axe Handles. Okay. The second poem, Axe Handles, says, one afternoon the last week in April, showing Kai how to throw a hatchet. One half turn and it sticks in a stump. He recalls the hatchet head without a handle in the shop and gets it and wants it for his own. A broken off axe handle behind the door is long enough for a hatchet. We cut it to length and take it with the hatchet head and working hatchet to the wood block. There I begin to shape the old handle with the hatchet, and the phrase first learned from the Ezra Pound ring in my ears. When making an axe handle, the pattern is not far off, and I say this to Kai: look, we'll shape the handle by checking the handle of the axe we cut with. And he sees, and I hear it again. It is in Lu Ji Wen's Fu 4th century AD essay on literature, in the preface, in making the handle of an axe. By cutting wood with an axe, the model is indeed near at hand. My teacher Shish Hixiang Chen translated that and taught it years ago, and I see. Pound was an axe, Chen was an axe, I am an axe, and my son a handle, soon to be shaping again, model and tool, craft of culture. How we go on. So, in this poem, Kai remembers they're throwing hatchets, and Kai remembers that there's a hatchet somewhere in the house. There's a hatchet head somewhere in the house, and the father decides to make a hatchet for his son. So he uses the hatchet they were using to throw with to shape an old handle. And I feel like this whole poem kind of just talks about it's kind of like a lesson on parenting. At the end, he talks about, and my son a handle, soon to be shaping again, model and tool, craft of culture. Here we go on. In that last stanza, I feel like it kind of explains what the whole poem is about. So it talks about that the parents are the axe and the son is the handle. The kids are the handle. The parents, the edge of the axe is the one that does all the work, does the cuts, does the damage, is the thing that creates whatever you're trying to make, and the handle is just there to kind of hold on, watching. And this can relate to parents and children, parenting, how if you're a parent, you're kind of creating whatever the handle or the son is seeing in the parents. That's what's going to create. Whatever the parents do, it's going to base like whatever the handles, it's going to reflect on the handle. Whether the handle breaks or you're a bad parent, the handle holds on, you're a good parent, you're holding on, creating something magnificent or something like that. Moving on into the last poem, Above Pate Valley. Above Pate Valley, it says, we finished clearing the last section of trail by noon, high on the ridge side, 2,000 feet above the creek. Reached the pass, went on beyond the white pine groves, granite shoulders to a small green meadow watered by the snow, edged with aspen, sun straight high and blazing, but the air was cool. Ate a cold fried trout in the trembling shadows. I spied a glitter and found a flake, black volcanic glass, obsidian by a flower, hands and knees pushing the bare grass, thousands of arrowhead leaving over 100 yards. Not one good head, just razor flakes. On a hill snowed, but all but summer, a land of fat summer deer. They came to camp. On their own trails, I followed my own. Trail here, picked up on the cold drill, pick, single jack, and sack of dynamite. 10,000 years. So, in this poem, it seems to be he's talking about a hike, and he begins describing a blazing sun. The blazing sun in this poem could represent the beauty in nature, how the nature can look so high and mighty, how it used to look just gorgeous and magnificent once you reach certain areas of it. And then it goes on to talk about the shadows and the cold. In the shadows and cold, which he says, but but the air was cool, ate a cold fried trout in the trembling shadows. And there, I feel like it could be representing the community, the public, what we're doing as humans, slowly turning the environment into something not as great, not as beautiful as it used to be. And the only reason I say that, to prove my point, in the end it talks about the trails. It says, they came to camp on their own trails. I followed my own trail here. Pick up the cold drill, pick, single jack, and a sack of dynamite. That last stanza, I feel like, is just describing what we brung. So that's how this poem's talking about how we've affected the environment as a whole, how we've caused damage, or how this last stanza talks about just the environment and how we've affected it with our arrowheads, cold drills, dynamite, how it's shriveled up how it has shriveled up some environments and caused great destruction. And this really does reflect to Gary Snyder himself. All these poems do, because all these poems, all of them talk about some type of meditating. All these poems talk about some type of meditating. In the first poem, Burning Island, it talks about meditating with peace and tranquility. And the way he describes his meditation is by praying in the middle of the poem. And in the second poem, Axe Handles, it shows how he has used his wisdom from what he has learned and how he has meditated it, showing it through the axe and the tools he is using. And then in the third poem, the last one we just read, kind of just talks about the cold air, how he's trying to look for, how he's hiking. And this connects to Snyder very much, because Snyder is also a bona fide environmental activist. Like, he's close to nature, as I said before. So all these kind of do relate. Really do show. All of these poems show big pieces of him with meditation and how he loves nature. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.